Hi, it's LindaLee, and it's been a little while since I did an eco dye review with you. This here is my latest eco dye, and some of you have seen it because I've shown it on a Facebook Live, but I wanted to do a recording specifically for YouTube because I do have some folks that just look at the eco dye recordings. So anyway, I'm going to show you this fabric a little after and tell you a little story about how I did it, because I did do a lot different with this particular batch. What I did is I used kind of everything. I usually do it a little more controlled, but this time I didn't as much. I used kind of all the plants that were available to me, and I did it with coffee in the water, and I did not rinse it. So these are the traditional 8 by 12 inch. This is what fits in my pot. The paper itself is drying paper, so it's like a 50-pound weight. It's not real heavy, and it's a little more delicate if you try to use it in your own eco dye. You just have to be really slow and really careful about taking it apart so that it doesn't tear. It is, I do have little wounds here and there, but that's just part of doing the eco dye. When you use the heavier papers though, it does hold up better, is what I'm trying to say. I did a couple things different. I did not rinse this batch, so as I was taking it apart, I did not have the water running. I just pulled off the leaves and set it aside. Basically what it was is the flowers, you'll see, I got a lot of color from them, and I didn't potentially want to rinse any of it away. So I also intentionally didn't put stuff on both sides of some of the papers. I wanted to leave a little bit more bare in certain areas so that you could actually journal. The papers themselves, different people use them for different things. I personally make them for myself to put in journals, and it's harder to write over top of this, and a lot of people don't want to, even though it'll take ink just as easily as any other paper would, but at the same time, some people don't want to actually write over top of the actual print. So I did some where they were both mostly one-sided, and all that really comes through is what was on the other side. So I'm going to show you these leaves right here. I've never used before. They came off a vine that was growing in a tree in the back of our property along the canal. So I don't know what kind of ivy it is. My guy says that it's like a Florida, it's like a sea grape ivy. I don't know. I haven't tried to identify it. It's just really cool. And this is the underside. So we got the color from the underside. And when it was the other way, we just really have definition. So these are my traditional hibiscus. This was a coleus. And then this is the harvest colored flowers. So if my plan came together as I wanted it to, you saw a quick little slideshow of the different plants that went into the making of this one. So this was like the deep purple harvest colored flower. These here, I'm not sure where the pink came from on this one, because I don't really have pink in very much of this entire batch. This envelope, did more envelopes in this one. This was the envelope, I think, that was face down here. I'm not sure. But I think this is the only other piece that had the pink in it too. Anyway, back side, front side, front side. This was a little pom-pom chrysanthemum. And you can kind of see a little bit how just the darker bits, that normally would rinse away, kind of colored the paper a little bit, which I really like. It's kind of rustic. but nothing on that side, just what bled through. And then this page here. And most of you are familiar with, you know, how I layer up the envelopes in smaller pieces of paper, and then it gives us these little frames, so it's almost like a picture within a picture. And then there's just the big leaf. Now this big leaf here that's underneath, it was underneath these these smaller envelopes. I'm not even sure which side, probably this side, but I've never used this leaf before either. It looked like a great big heart, and so the largest of leaves were like this big. They were huge, but there were some smaller ones, and they had little holes in them too. I don't know if that's from, you know, just the natural leaf itself, or if it's something that the bugs, you know, that are in the area contributed to if they were eating. But the holes in the leaves were perfectly round. They didn't look like they were chewed little edges. So it might just be the plant. Here is that leaf right here. So you can kind of see a little bit the holes. So hopefully I was able to zoom in on that one. And here is another one. So you can kind of see this, the envelope that's here. This is the back side of that envelope. You can see the paper slit here. But it turned, this whole batch is very cool. So we're in the two-sided pieces now, because I only did the one-sided papers just for a few of them. Here's another one. Look at this. The definition that's in that. Isn't that gorgeous? And then the back side. And then I just got a couple more of them that are the larger size. So this one is my traditional plants, and these are the little ivy leaves. A little pom-pom. And some more ivy, a fern. This is the coleus, and underneath is a great big leaf. You can kind of see the edge right here. Not too much on the back side of this one. Look how dark some of it came too. But without rinsing it away, I think that might be kind of, you know, why I got so much vivid color in this batch. I don't know. So I'm going to have to try it again. I'm going to set this aside and show you some of the envelopes. Actually, I have some cards. So I didn't do a lot of papers, you know, the smaller papers, because usually what I do is I cut down those larger ones by 4. I didn't do that. I just kind of used what I had already kind of cut and prepared. This particular piece of paper, this is watercolor paper. So this is 140 pounds. So it's almost like a thin, well, cardboard-ish. It's really heavy. But it takes to the color just like the other papers do. It's just a lot firmer. And it holds up to, you know, some pretty tough circumstance when you're using different plants. I think I only had 4 of these. Maybe more. Sorry. But some of these are already spoken for. Look at that one. Isn't that gorgeous? And pause so we can zoom in on it a little bit. And then this is sketch paper. So this is really thin. This I think was, I want to say 20 pounds. It was, only had plants like on one side. But again, I did not rinse these. And the perforation actually survived, which I didn't think it would. I thought that would have come apart, but it didn't. So those are pretty cool. It's the first time I used that paper. I have some larger envelopes. Now these envelopes did not come unglued, so they're fully intact. If you've seen some of my other videos, some of the papers or the envelopes do come unglued. So front and back. Isn't that cool? I was thinking on making some card sets out of these. Make sure I have these right side up. But I have lots of ideas and lots of hopes for everything, but I don't have a lot of time working as much as I have been. And then also having other little things going on with Mom's health, and you know how it can be. Life gets in the way. But here's one of those great big leaves. You can kind of see the holes. And how rich and vibrant some of the colors are. But I think I finally used up all of these envelopes because I did quite a few of them. Isn't the underside so cool? And the little ivy leaves and the harvest colored flowers. Hopefully I'm not going too fast. Sometimes I feel like I go too slow. You can only look at so many leaf imprints, right? Maybe not, I don't know. I can spend a lot of time with these prints. And look at this one. If I had given a little bit more forethought, I could have done something like this on all of the envelopes so that it would have been easier to write like addresses down and you literally be able to use these in the mail. I know you probably still can. You'd have to use like a black Sharpie or something to write just so it stood out enough for the postal carriers. Isn't that cool? The little pom-pom ones. And that's one of the newer leaves that I've never used before. I didn't have very many of the small ones. The plant is huge. So that's some of the larger envelopes. Here's some of the smaller ones. Let's see which way's the top. Here we go. And I don't know if you can kind of see here that little indent. That's where the paper almost tore. And this one did tear a little bit. But when they do tear a little bit, you can kind of squish it back together, and then when it dries, it is more like one piece again. So even though it's got that indentation, it doesn't really have a hole. But look at that leaf, isn't that cool? The way it outlined. And then the last smaller envelope. Now these envelopes are fully glued too. They didn't come apart, but I'm about to show you some that did. So this one had a little pink in it too, didn't it? I don't know where that came from. Two more pieces of watercolor. I just wanted to try it. These were actually a little bit too big in my pot. So you can kind of see it overlapped itself here. And that's one of the big leaves. But it was longer than my pot, and so it didn't lay completely flat, but I still got a pretty good result with them. They look really cool. So watercolor paper. And now these envelopes are all of the ones that came unglued. So there's the front side and then the underside. So we just fold these up and we have the envelope. So you can do journaling on the inside and then fold it up and kind of hide it, and then tuck this in a pocket. Same with these. Oops. So outside, inside, and then it folds. These are the little gusset flaps. Back side, or front side I should say. And then the inside. Isn't that cool? Back side, and then the gussets and the flap. And just, I think, 2 more, and then I'll show you the fabric. The fabric I didn't actually show in the other Facebook Live video that I did. And I did that a little different too. And it was inspired by somebody else I saw in our Junk Journal Junkies, etc. group. What I saw is they were doing eco-dyes, rolling their papers up around cans. So they were laying their paper and then their leaves, and then they were rolling it around a can and tying it around the can and then blending the cans in a pot. So what I actually did, okay, sorry, I was getting a phone call. I think my recording interrupted. But anyway, what I started to say is I kind of took that inspiration and took a long piece of cotton, and what I did is I laid down the plants and then I rolled the plants inside, and that's where I got these prints here. So this is probably, I want to say maybe, I don't know, maybe almost a 6-foot piece of fabric. It's actually the width of, I think, a twin sheet. And I just tear the cotton and put the plants in so you can kind of see. I'm going to just slide it down bit by bit. Isn't that cool though? I was really happy with this result. And then this is the other side, which is different because I kept rolling it and putting more plants down. Look at this little piece right here. Isn't that pretty? And then if you look on the inside, this is where it kind of bled through. So even the inside, even though it's not as defined, and I did not rinse this either. And then slide it down a little more. There's the flower. So it's like it bleeding through. And more leaves. Oh, what's this? Still pieces of plant stuck to the fabric. But yeah. So I still have the rough edge of whatever this was. I'm not sure. I think it was, maybe this is from the bed skirt because the flaps would have been hanging down. And this is a finished edge. But I just tore it. So there's torn edges here, if you can see it. But anyway, I wanted to show you all of that. I'm going to definitely take pictures because hopefully someday soon I'll actually have digitals of this stuff for everybody. But yeah, that's it. That's this last eco dye. Hopefully I'll get another one done pretty soon. I don't know if we're going to lose any leaves or not. It is, you know, the beginning of November, and we don't lose too much here in Florida. We do have some trees that go through, you know, their deciduous life cycle, and they do drop leaves and whatnot. But, alright. So, this is kind of the kitchen sink batch. Everything I had available to me went in it. Flowers, plants, the traditional plants, and even others that were kind of in the neighborhood. So I hope you enjoyed them. I really did enjoy doing this batch. It's been a lot of fun. I just apologize it took me so long to show it to you. So anyway, have a great afternoon. Be safe, and we'll talk to you again on the other side of whatever happens next. I have no idea as far as what videos I have coming. It's been kind of crazy doing, you know, all this and working full time again too. So take care, everybody, and we'll talk to you soon.